We got jumping down. We got Liberia. Don't really know too much about Liberia, so yeah, let's check this out, man.
All right, my fellow American geography peeps. America, do you realize that our country kind of has like a long-lost, estranged African stepson? Yeah, we really need to like visit and follow up with him more because we kind of
What,
did
Liberia?
create him. I'm just saying.
Huh?
It's time to learn geography.
I never knew
Everyone,
America was
welcome to
linked.
Liberia, the U.S.'s little experimental African resettlement project, and one of the only two nations in Africa that never got colonized.
I beg to differ.
Okay, you tried to colonize us for like 5 years, but that doesn't really count for colonization. In many ways, Liberia is incredibly unique on how it became the way it did. No other African state has their type of story, and it all begins on a little place called the Pepper Coast. Let's begin.
Interesting.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. Unfortunately, my first impression of Liberia came from the movie Lord of War, in which, like most Hollywood movies, portrays Liberia in a complete war-torn mess.
Never
On top
seen
of
it.
that, the whole Ebola crisis happened, which made things even worse, which is
Right.
why Liberia is like the perfect place to visit right now. I have to ring the tripster bell once again. Everybody still thinks this place has Ebola, so they try to avoid it, which means no annoying tourist crowds. The exchange rate is amazing. You could potentially have like an entire beach to yourself. People are
What
friendly
the
and like
fuck?
nobody knows about it. It's like Africa's best kept secret. Which I just ruined. Oh shoot. First of all, Liberia is located in West Africa, bordered by Guinea, the Ivory Coast, and Sierra Leone, as well as the Atlantic Ocean to the southeast. The country is divided into 15 counties, with the capital Monrovia, which by the way is named after
Wait, is that the actual Liberian flag?
American President James Monroe, located in the upper west coast of the country. By the way, the flags of the Liberian counties are notoriously famous for being kind of funny looking. CGP Grade does a great podcast explaining how they kind of look like they were made out of micro...
Wait. They're actually the flags?
CGP Grade does a great
What the
podcast explaining
fuck?
how they kind of look like they were made out of Microsoft Paint. We'll talk more about it on Flag Friday. The largest cities after the capital Monrovia are Baranga and Kakata.
There's a place called Sasstown.
The two busiest international airports are Spriggs Payne, which is literally like downtown in Monrovia, and Roberts International in Harbel, which is the airport most people arrive in when flying to Liberia from abroad, even though it's about 25 miles or 40 kilometers away from downtown Monrovia. Otherwise, you might be better off hitching a boat ride along the coast to one of the 4 main harbors: Monrovia, Buchanan, Greenville, or Harper. Those towns sound so American. Greenville, Buchanan. Oh, these guys. Otherwise, some notable places of interest might include
I
the
wonder
strange
why.
rock formations in Sasstown, the giant
Cool.
footprint in
Wait, they look
some
like
notable places of
faces.
interest might include the strange
These right here. Wait, let me move my camera just in case we get anything top left.
rock formations in Sasstown, the giant footprint in Pinyan, the National Museum,
the fuck?
Centennial Pavilion, the Sacred Heart Cathedral, the Lofa Rainforest, surfing at Roberts Spot, Sapo National
that was
Park,
sick.
Mamba Point Arts District, Libasa Eco Lodge, Kapatawi Waterfall, and
Ooh.
Chimpanzee Island in Marshall. And the best part is, there's like nobody crowding around these places. Hey, Ken.
Yeah?
Go on your phone, go to Skyscanner, check out flights from LAX to Monrovia. How much do flights cost?
Can you guys move on to the next segment, please? Some people want to learn stuff.
Actually, you know what? I actually wanted to know how much the flight cost.
Don't tell me how to do my job. All right? Okay, good. Okay. So anyway, Liberia was originally called the Pepper Coast by the Portuguese when they spotted the Malagueta peppers that grew there. First
I
of
love
all, the country is
peppers.
made up of 3 main physical regions: the flat coastal mangroves and swamps and valleys, the small rolling hills inland, and the tallest peaks in the North Lofa County, where you can find the tallest mountain, Mount Wuteve in the Guinea Highlands. Nearby, the longest river, the St. Paul, comes from the Guinea border, meandering all the way to the Atlantic by Monrovia, where just a skip away you can find the largest lake, Lake Piso, a brackish water lake. Brackish water. What does that mean? Noah, explain.
All right. In the world of water bodies, a body water that contains any level between 0.05 to 3% salinity is considered brackish. In the case of Lake Piso, a small inlet, it connects the ocean, allowing salt to enter.
Awesome, great job, Noah.
Yeah, no problem. Oh, actually, you made a mistake. The longest
Interesting.
river isn't actually the St. Paul, it's the Kavala River that goes along the border with the Ivory Coast.
Okay,
Just
okay,
thought you
no,
should
that's
know.
good enough. That's good enough. Okay, just.
Okay, how about I'll just walk out of frame?
Yeah.
Okay.
It rains a lot in Liberia. They have a saying in Liberia: by the rain or by the sweat, either way you will get wet. Where have I heard that before?
By the rain and by the sweat. right? You're gonna get wet.
Basically, Liberia has 2 seasons, dry and wet. But even in the dry season, it's still incredibly humid, so you're never gonna be completely dry. Resource-wise, Liberia is kind of like a jackpot country, even though they only have 1 national park, Sapo, the 2nd largest tropical rainforest in West Africa. However, the national animal is, no shocker, the lion. Everybody wants the lion. Even the UK took the lion for some reason, and lions have never, like, naturally inhabited that area anyway.
Yeah, you know what? Why has the UK took lions? Like, we've never had like lion. We obviously have lions here, but like in zoos, all right?
Speaking of animals, let's address the elephant in the room, Ebola. Ken, was that joke distasteful?
I'd say you just barely grazed past the boundary.
Good enough! Yes, during 2014, there was an outbreak of the virus with thousands
Everyone
of
knows
dying.
about it.
After months of pretty much quarantining and treating the entire nation, the outbreak was contained, and after passing a 42-day time period, the nation was declared Ebola-free in January 2016 with heightened surveillance. The whole ordeal left Liberia stigmatized and economically shunned. This was not what they needed. Nonetheless, through some smart decisions, they moved forward and continued rebuilding. Unemployment is only at about 3.5%. Exports like timber and rubber are at their highest. GDP growth has overall risen, peaking at 9.4% in 2007. And by 2011, they became one of the fastest growing 20 economies in the world.
Oh,
they
shit.
even dramatically reduced their external debt through commercial debt relief from 4.5 billion to 222 million. That's like deleting 17/18ths of your debt. That's like
Wow.
more deleting my weight and replacing it with this messenger bag. Good for you, Liberia. Granted, they still need to do some work. Blackouts are not uncommon, and infrastructure and civil engineering projects are still in progress. But for a country coming out of 2 civil wars and Ebola, not bad. Oh yeah,
that's not bad at all.
As a nickname hint,
Oh.
Liberians are famous for making their food spicy. They love spice.
We like a
It's
little
even
bit of
said that people
spice.
all over, but especially from the Kru tribe, put small bits of pepper in their kids' noses and mouths to kind of get them to build a tolerance. All right, that just about covers that.
What
Moving on to my
the
favorite part,
fuck?
The strongest trait for Liberia would have to be its story. It was like an experiment that actually ended up working, then kind of got glitchy, but then rebooted. First of all, the country has about 4.6 million people and is the only African state to have gained independence without major revolt. The largest of the groups in Liberia are the Kapele at about 20%, the Bassa at 14%, the Americo-Liberians come in third at around 11%, the Gribo at about 10%, and the rest are made up of most of the remaining 12 tribes, plus a few other non-Africans. They use the
Right.
Liberian dollar, but accept US dollars. They use the A, B, C, and F outlets, and they drive on the right side of the road, and they are one of the only 3 countries in the world that uses imperial units instead of metric, just like the US and Myanmar.
Yeah, it's just us 3 against the world. We're in this together, guys. Woo!
Even though recently they've considered transitioning into the metric system.
Oh, no, you don't. Get back on over here.
In Liberia, the official language is English, but only about a fifth of the country speaks it properly. It's more common to hear
shit.
Liberian colloqua, which is like a mashed up Creole-ish type of language that incorporates words from various tribal languages. For example, pem-pem, biggity, chop, noko, and one of my favorites.
Wait, what does
tribal
chop mean?
languages, for example, pem-pem, biggity,
Pam pam
chop,
biggity. Ooh, chop.
noko, and one of my favorites, Swimara. It's been said that a standard American English speaker can listen really hard and maybe pick it up in about 2 weeks. Well, and they always track extra sounds like o or ya on words. Right-o, not bad-o. Yeah, hello. It's kind of like Singlish with lo or la. Man, Liberia, you guys have a
Right-o.
lot in common with Singapore. Like, have you ever met Singapore? Like, here, talk amongst yourselves. Like, yeah, hey, say hi to each other. As mentioned, Liberia has 16 main tribes. Each speak their own language and dialect, specializing in their own unique customs and trades. For example, the Kisi tribe is famous for being rice farmers. The Dey are known for being salt traders and carving wood masks. The Bassa are like the people of the forest and they're good at hunting. The Kapele are the largest tribe and they were the tribe that historically became slaves to the other tribes, so there's kind of like that stigma that they don't like having. The Vai are the people from the Mali kingdom that actually created their own script, making it one of the few indigenous African writing systems. The Kru
Oh,
are
shit.
masters of sailing and fishing. Many work for the Coast Guard. The Mandingo and Gio and Mano tribes are like the Muslim tribes. And the Grebo are great fishermen. Now here's the interesting part. One thing that makes Liberia stand out from the rest of Africa was that the nation, at least in modern times, was resettled by freed slaves that were initially brought from the US and Caribbean in the mid-1800s by the American Colonialization Society. Okay,
Oh,
get
wow.
ready because I'm about to go into story mode. Basically, if you were
There
a
we
freed
go.
slave in the US in the mid-1800s, you had 2 choices. Stay as a disenfranchised individual and hope that over time society would get better for you, or you could take your chances and sail to Africa and create your own society run by you and other freed slaves funded by the US government. In
Oh,
1822,
shit.
the first ship set sail, and over 4 decades, over 13,000 freed slaves were returned back to Africa. Africa, and an entirely new people group, the Americo-Liberians, were formed, some of whom were mixed-race children of slave owners that had privileged upbringings and educations. It was strange though, because essentially these new African-American colonialists were returning back to the continent of their ancestors, which was completely foreign to them. They didn't initially get along with the indigenous people groups, and for a while clashes and fights broke out. Eventually the Americo-Liberians took power as the elite. They built their own infrastructure and government based off of the US system of legislation. They tried to build schools and churches to help integrate the native.
Wow, that's actually super interesting. I never knew that, and obviously you can see why it's tied to America so much now.
And after decades, they finally gave birthright citizenship to the tribes. So in a sense, historically, there's always kind of been like this rift between the natives and the colonialists. Tensions eventually led to the first and subsequent second civil wars in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, caused by natives backlashing against the Americo-Liberian elite. Eventually, peace deals were signed. The most free and fair elections took place. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, a Harvard-trained economist, won the presidency and became the first female president in all of Africa. And then George Weah was voted in to follow after her. The majority of Liberians around in all of Africa, and then George Weah was voted in to follow after her. The majority of Liberians, around 85.5%, identify as Christians, mostly Protestant, although indigenous belief systems are also practiced and sometimes synchronized, whereas about 12% are Muslim. Oh, and one more thing, from what I've been told, in Liberia, everyone likes to bluff, flaunting expensive clothes and accessories. They all have like the newest cell phones, even if they live in shanty houses. They even have a word for it, cheeky. Hey, but you know, we're all kind of guilty of trying to show off for making an impression to people. Last of all, a few famous people from Liberia or of Liberian descent might include people like Martin Delaney, Chris Bondi, India Ari, Saren Kaba Jones, Tamba Hali, maybe Oprah Winfrey, Kat Graham, and Louis Gossett.
Wait, what?
Saren Kaba Jones, Tamba Hali, maybe.
She did a DNA test and it said possibly a Liberian. Wow.
Oprah Winfrey, Kat Graham, and Louis Gossett Jr. A lot of those people, though, are like Americans of Liberian descent, but I guess it still kind of counts. Speaking of America and relations with them, Liberia is kind of like that kid playing on the swings that you walked up to on the playground because you wanted to say hi, but then the moment you got 2 feet away from them, they fall off and break their arms screaming in pain, so you're like, oh, shoot, hi? Are you okay? First of all, within Africa, Namibia showed huge appreciation for Liberia's support for their liberation efforts and offering Liberian passports to help students study abroad. The Namibian Defense Force also stops by and stations themselves occasionally in Liberia. Sierra Leone and Guinea were like the really close cousins that suddenly got really mad because that one thing that happened in the 80s that they never really forgot. And by that I mean President Charles Taylor. Although issues have settled, they still kind of remember it and hold it against them a little bit. India really started to love Liberia after they gave their full-fledged support for India's stance on the Kashmir dispute. In return, President Sirleaf was invited to India. They struck up multiple export and investment deals in things like engineering equipment, pharmaceuticals, and steel and plastics, which increased India's investments in Liberia by 4 times. When it comes to their best friends, though, Liberians always kind of go back to their 1800 roots and say America. The USA. Sometimes they even call themselves Little America, and the statement, "We will become America's 51st state," has even been a slogan in some presidential campaigns. Many of their former presidents were even born in the US. Even though tensions were built up in the 80s and 90s, the US is still the largest provider of investment and foreign aid, and they still take cultural and diplomatic cues from their stepdad. Overall, the two have a weird but somewhat functional relationship. In conclusion, nowhere else in the world do you find an African nation colonized by African Americans. It's just only in Liberia. Interesting, eh? Stay tuned. Libya.
Really cool video. Enjoyed that one. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.